the Evergreen Media Network Studios, brought to you by Evergreen Media, creating cohesive marketing campaigns. Evergreen Media in Vero Beach.
Hi, welcome to Silver Linings. I am your host, Janine Barrows, and sometimes your co-host, like I'm going to be today, because I get to sit with Mike Conway from Conway Financial Planning and the Royal Fund Management Group, as well as our guest today, who is Glenn Grevengoed, and he is a local attorney here in Vero Beach, and we are going to be discussing the Charitable Remainder Trust, what that means, how it works, what it could mean for the benefactor and for the individuals that set it up. So good morning, Glenn. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining me.
Yeah.
So with that being said, you two are the professionals when it comes to money and what to do with it and how to protect it. And you specifically, Glenn, are on the legal side of it and how that works for the individual, what they're doing with their money, their future planning, and so forth. And part of that, if I understand correctly, is when individuals want to set up something to give away in the event and time of their passing. Is that right?
That is true. In the Charitable Remainder Trust, that is one tool for helping people, but it's a lot more than just giving away your money. It is actually a tool that can help people save money now on taxes, on capital gain, provide them with a lifetime income that's safe from creditors and the corpus of that, but also bless a charity at the end. In certain cases, the person who sets it up is actually financially ahead, even though they're helping out a charity they love at the end.
Well, now hold that thought, because I don't want you to get too deep in that, because what I really want to know is, how did you end up in law? How long have you been practicing? Tell us a little bit about you before we go in depth about the trust.
Sure. I was admitted to practice in Illinois in 1986 and had gone to DePaul University, which is a downtown Chicago law school.
Wow.
And my family has roots in Chicago. And my first job was with the Illinois Attorney General's office.
Oh, so
And
that's a big job.
Yeah, it was interesting. Got a lot of really good experience. Their line was they paid us with experience.
Well, I guess it's better than bread and water.
Well, that's true. That's true.
I was just in a convention and was walking right by DePaul. I said, "This is the college I've heard so much about."
Right. 25 East Jackson.
Yeah, I was right there.
A block from the Art Institute in Grant Park.
Yeah.
So.
In the downtown central zone.
And yeah, so eventually I was pulled away from that, given a job in private practice. And as I developed my own practice after a couple of years, started doing estate planning and probate and those types of things. Mm-hmm. And don't know how much detail, but at one point I went and worked for a charitable foundation in Chicago and did kind of high-end estate and financial and charitable planning across the country.
Kind of kickstart that interest, right?
Yeah,
Right.
I've known you for quite a few years now, Glenn, and you got your finger in a lot of charity organizations, and you do a lot of good for our community. I do a thank you for that.
Well,
Yes.
well, thank you. Yeah,
We are grateful.
The easiest way to get appointed president of a charity or a charitable board is
Show up.
say yes when they ask you. But yeah, I have been blessed to be. I've been president of the Plan Giving Council, which is a group of plan giving professionals in town for a couple different terms. I'm still involved on their board. Been president of CareNet for a number of years. I was president of a few other organizations. Currently, I'm still on CareNet's board as their advisory board, and also the Women's Refuge on their advisory board. So, and my church I've been involved with as an officer of the church for over 20 years.
So you're used to investing your time into others and entities. without a return per se in the financial avenue, but more in, hey, this is going to be a great thing for our community members, and I want to be part of it. I love that. Well, we live in a wonderful community when it comes to that. So I know that you are head and shoulders with some very compassionate people. With that, you have a great experience on how individuals want to make donations, long-term plans for those exact entities that you sit on boards of, not just yours, but all across the county and all across the state, depending on your client's desires and interests. Now, that being said, Mike wanted to bring you on specific because we had a prior guest and we were talking about how they receive and run completely on donations. And so at that time, Mike was talking about these trusts. And so the reason that he asked you in is so that we can all learn a little bit more about it, because it doesn't necessarily need to be a wealthy person. But of course, that helps when there's a big pot to start the thing with. But the idea is that it's a long-term plan, right?
Yes. And, having been on a number of boards over the years and charitable boards, the Charitable Remainder Trust, that was one of the things we mentioned, topic we are going to discuss in a little more depth today. That takes a little bit longer vision for the charity.
Right.
There are other giving mechanisms that also work out well for the charity, but are more immediate returns for them.
Okay.
There's something called the Charitable Lead Trust. I don't want your eyes to go cross-eyed, but there's a Charitable Lead Trust. There's gift annuities that can be done, and other smart ways of giving. I mean, one of the things we always talk about, and not to get on too much of a rabbit trail, but when you are gifting and gifting to a charity, if you have appreciated assets, like a stock that, you bought Apple at 100 or something, and you want to donate, give it to the charity as a stock, then they sell it, and then you avoid paying the capital gain on it.
Right.
So that can be a
So
very...
you're not getting penalized for gifting it.
Right.
I mean, well, not penalized, but you're not paying extra outside of
Right.
the intended gift.
Right. You get the full donation amount. The charity gets the whole benefit of the fair market value when they sell it, but the IRS doesn't take their 15 or 20% in their capital
gains, which is a big number. I have a lot of people that, Grandma bought Coca-Cola back in 1929, and she still has it.
She was very smart to get that.
But now if she tries to sell that Coca-Cola, it would be ridiculous as far as the tax number would be.
Oh.
So now there is a thing called step up, where if it's a stock, that would automatically step up. But if she wants to get rid of it while she's still here, then the only way to do that would be through this trust.
Yeah, the real problem with step up, Mike, is you got to die to get it.
That's right.
Oh, now.
That's not good planning, is it?
I don't think that is good planning.
We most of us love our kids, but dying to
give it to them
so that they can save some taxes. Absolutely.
And I don't think they really want that anyway.
Right. Want to go to. But anyway, so that is a thing, and it doesn't have to be stock. I mean, you can even, the real estate here. I remember when I moved here from Chicago in 2003, we had, I was amazed how low some people were paying taxes on the beach because they had lived in their house forever. But that house, that's appreciated, or more likely, the Grove out west of town or something like that, that also can be used charitably. It gets a little more complicated, and you have to be careful as a charity and a donor on some of those things, but that also is an appreciated asset and can actually be used to fund something like a charitable remainder trust.
You had told me one time, it was a pretty funny story I thought about, some farmer who in the barn had a lot of antique tractors, and they were worth a lot of money.
I was going to say, they are usually worth a lot of money.
And we'll start off with one of the most complex things I've ever been involved with. But because of the IRS rules and so forth, actually, what he did, and try to make a very long, complicated story very simple, this donor actually set up a tractor museum. And so he was able to donate his tractors, and through that, eventually have a sale and some of these tractors were one of a kind.
Yeah.
The steam type tractors.
Oh, wow.
And
really old.
Worth millions of dollars, actually. And
no doubt.
But he could sell those, fund his charitable remainder trust, get a income tax deduction when he first made the donations. But that's complex because you can't.
Complex and creative.
Yeah, because you
like
can't
that.
just give a tractor to CareNet or something like that.
No,
and
it wouldn't help them very much.
Yeah, it's a whole
somehow
different
Rube
thing.
Goldberg comes to mind on that one.
Yeah, that's very similar. But anyway, so we're a little bit afield here, but there are a lot of different ways you can give and do it in a smart way that helps you to save capital gain and also generate tax deductions.
What I'm hoping happens through this conversation actually is that somebody sitting at home and listening to this and says, I have this baseball card collection, or there's a number of things people have, and they might just have a lot of cash, and they're maybe saddled up with it being all in qualified money, meaning it's like an IRA or something. In that situation, this is a great way to offset your taxes in a big way you probably never thought of. So
wow. Those are great ideas. Now, hold those thoughts, gentlemen, because we actually have sponsorship that we have to go to because that's how we stay on the air. So we're going to come right back in just a second, and we're going to pick up where we left off.
At Sunshine Furniture, our 35,000 square foot showroom is filled with the largest selection of in-stock coastal furniture on the Treasure Coast. Now during our summer sale, you can save 10 to 50% store-wide on furniture in the latest styles and colors from Tommy Bahama, Lexington, Hooker, Riverside, Universal, Four Seasons, Braxton Color, Capri, and more. Sofas, love seats, dining sets, bedroom groups, all in stock for immediate delivery. We're also the outdoor furniture experts and have hundreds of styles of any patio furniture you need, including a gallery of Berlin Garden, Hollywood, and Kingsley Bait. Sunshine Furniture, $12.95 US 1 in the Publix Plaza, Vero Beach. Come in now for our store-wide summer sale, including all pictures, lamps, and accessories half price. Don't forget to visit our outlet and sales store directly across the street and visit our website at sunshinefurniturecasual.com.
Sunshine Furniture.
Hey, you! Host your very own show every week at Evergreen Media Network in Vero Beach. Go live to YouTube and Facebook with up to 4 people and your very own producer. Be heard on more than 15 podcast platforms and local radio. All you have to do is show up and talk. Your guests can join from anywhere in the world. It's easy to get started with the largest podcast studio on the Treasure Coast. Contact Evergreen Media to tour the studio.
Hi, welcome back. That was Painless. We are so grateful for our sponsors, and I would be remiss if I did not say thank you specifically to Silver Linings sponsors. So a big shout out to Rooney and the legal team here in Vero Beach for sponsoring Silver Linings, and to the financial team at Conway Financial Planning. If you have a need, please don't hesitate to pick up a call and give them a ring. We are grateful for their sponsorship. On that note, we're going to go back to Glenn. He was just starting to dig a little deeper and some ideas and ways that some of his clients have maybe approached him or approached the idea of giving and gifting. And so I said, well, the average individual might have, as Mike was saying, a collection that works into favor, or maybe a philanthropist has a goal and has some long-term big assets. But tell us what we want to know about how does that actually work for the average. And say they had something they wanted to gift and they were looking at holding on to it while they're alive, but finding a way to make it work so that it could be an end-long gift in the end for somebody or an entity. What does that look like for the average individual?
Well,
and I know I simplified it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and
it's not that easy.
So there's a lot of different ways you can give, and we just talked about the appreciated stock and the advantages to that. If you sold it outright and then gave what's left over to the charity, that would be X. But if you sell it give it to the charity as it is, and they sell it, they don't have to pay the capital gains on it. So you have more that they are getting, plus you'll still get the charitable deduction.
How much of a deduction are we talking about? So say somebody gives like a $500,000 worth of whatever cash. What kind of a deduction would somebody like that be witnessing?
Well, it'd be $500,000 if it was a qualified charity. Mm-hmm. You could only take up to 50% of the your income as a deduction per year, but you can carry it forward.
Right.
So those are things. Now, when we started talking about charitable remainder trusts.
Yes.
And they can be funded in different ways. We kind of got off on the funding aspects of it, but charitable remainder trust is a very specific thing, and it probably isn't for everybody, but for the people that it is right for, it can be a really, really powerful tool. And so to give some aspects of that, what it is an irrevocable trust. And that is a lawyer's way of saying you can't change it once you set it up.
All right.
Now, sometimes you can change or make it flexible in who the charities are, and there's different ways of accomplishing it that get a benefit. But that has advantages and disadvantages. The advantage is that it is no longer technically your property, but that means nobody can take it away from you either, right? A creditor, things like that. If you are subject to an estate tax, it is also outside of your estate. The way they are structured, and they can be structured in different ways. So this is speaking in generalities, but generally they provide you with an income for life. But when you create it and donate your property, and in this case we're talking appreciated stock or maybe appreciated land, something like that, you get the tax deduction for the value of that appreciated asset. And so it's like giving to the charity. Now, the charity isn't going to get it until you pass away. Right. And during your lifetime, you're going to get income from that charitable remainder trust at an income level that you pick. And the IRS has some guidelines for that. But so to kind of recap that, I mean, basically you're giving something to an entity that you create, that you write the terms for, that will be producing an income for you and perhaps you and your spouse for life. And then at the end, at least 10% of it will go to charity. And by
or more if it's there, but at the minimum.
Most of them are probably more, but the way we determine that is the IRS, as you can imagine, has actuarial tables.
The IRS does?
They love numbers, and so they know what your life expectancy is, Mike, or how long you're going to live, and they also determine what
some guy behind a computer decides for us.
Yeah, well, you can outlive them. Well, one of the jokes which won't be funny to the audience probably, but the jokes in the charitable world is if somebody buys a gift annuity that the charity has to pay them income for life on, they're guaranteed to live to be 105 because they outlived the principal that was donated. But So anyway, so you set that up, and I ran an example before I came in here of a 76-year-old man, based on today's figures, what the IRS expects to be the return on an investment based on their numbers, the AFR, and also the life expectancy of a man at 76 years old. And if he did a $250,000 investment or donation to his own charitable remainder trust, he would generate for himself a tax deduction, even though the charity hasn't gotten it yet. And that tax deduction would be $142,755.
Wow.
So a little over half of what he's put into this charitable remainder trust would be a tax deduction. Now, some people are blessed making $255,000 or more a year. A lot of people aren't.
Right.
But if he's making $150,000 a year, and he takes as much of that deduction as he can take for that year, but can't use it all, he can carry it forward for an additional 6 years. So think about the income tax savings he has on that margin for those years going forward. So he saved money.
Right.
You know, he saved money on the capital gain. You know, if he had, you know, had bought what he funded that with for $100,000, he would have had $150,000 capital gain to sell that $250,000 and give it. He doesn't have that, right? Because he sold it inside. So he's also saving, you know, $20,000-$30,000 on his income tax, on his capital gains tax.
Yeah.
So, and that's not an astronomical amount to gift. I mean, especially if you were planning like giving an asset, like, okay, I'm a single older lady, I have no kids, I want to donate to the Humane Society, and I want to give them all of my monies that I have left when I pass and my home. You know, I mean, so it's a feasible gifting or a feasible plan to donate and gift down the road for an average person.
Yeah, I have a couple clients. One, in general, he's already given this money to, in his will, is already going to his charities. So why not just label it a charitable trust? And
protect him.
Doesn't change anything as far as what he was doing, but he gets a tax break that he wasn't getting before.
Okay.
There's probably a lot of people here in Vero Beach that are in that category.
I know a few that have been very philanthropic and making plans moving forward. And I think that this is going to be very fruitful information for them.
Oh, absolutely. Now, don't forget, this is all the good thing for the person giving the charity.
Absolutely.
But just think of the charities.
Yeah, they don't have to pay that tax. They get the item.
Last month, I had a Caring Center for Women. It's a great organization here in Vero Beach. They're doing leaps and bounds, wonderful things. So this is money that goes to them to continue their good mission.
Their mission.
And so there's so many good charities here, and
many reasons to make a plan like this with Glenn. And I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to talk over you. The example I used, that hypothetical gentleman at 76 giving $250 and getting that huge tax deduction, and getting the savings on the capital gains as well, so he's paying less tax. He's also, under this scenario, getting a 6% return on the value of that trust asset. Now, what the IRS believes will be his rate of return on the investment is 5.7%.
Okay.
Which is higher than it has been. You know, the last few years it was down to almost nothing for a while. But anyway, that's why they figure that $142,755 will be the charitable deduction left for the charity. Now, Mike, do you think maybe you could get them more than 5.6% in a return?
I bet he could.
I'm pretty confident that maybe we tripled that one. Yeah.
That is so awesome.
So over the last, the way this particular trust would work, and there's different ways of doing that, but this one we call a uni trust, and it bases the payout based on the account value at the end of the year, you know, December 31st. So if you're getting more than that 5.6%, and there's few costs of administration, they're not that huge, but that bucket is going to grow.
Right.
So there's even bigger
and then
potential.
The next year, if you get 10% instead of 5.6,
right,
this gentleman will still be getting 6% that'll be on a bigger pot.
Right.
Now, the inverse is true, too, of course.
Right.
You know,
of course.
If you're not making the 5%, then.
I love this conversation. I wish we had an eternity to go into this because I have a feeling you have more ideas and more ways in which we can gift and protect ourselves and grow for the individuals we're gifting. Thank you so much for your time today. I wish we had more time. I'd love to have you back. We grateful for you. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Mike. I think those that are watching, take a note, make a call. Thank you.